Black Panther Blood Hunt. I hope I'm the first of the YouTubers to have been covering this on a Wednesday morning, right when it comes out. It starts with him in the Djalia because yes, he was bit by a vampire and he's got these vampire tendencies. Now he's being spoken to and scolded by a panther. I'm ready for the twist because this is an unnamed panther. What if that's his dad T'Chaka? Because the Panthers in the Djalia, they're all upset, and these are supposed to be, according to the movie I remember, that they are supposed to be former Black Panthers. Remember when T'Chaka turned into one in the movie? So that's what I think that they are, and that's why they were like, come on brothers, leave this guy alone, he's a clown. And they kind of are upset with him because he was able to be taken over by these vampires. Like, how, and why are you even bringing that sickness into the Djalia of all places? And he wakes back up. He's at the Temple of Bast now. Don't ask. He gets around, right? Sometimes he's here, sometimes he's there. He used some of that heart-shaped herb also to uplift him and bring him up to where he's got to be at to fight again, fight another day. T'Challa, shout out to him. He was very strong in here. There was moments of strength, like when he said something like, I'm not even going to have this blood. I was happy to have heard that T'Challa is a vampire who won't take part in any of that blood-sucking stuff and how he resisted. And that was like a big uplifting moment. So damn, when we got to the moment when there was a woman there in one of the Wakandan cities, Bernanzana, he's back. Which wasn't a big deal as I thought it should have been. When she's there, he sees the neck and Shuri stops him. Oh my god, Shuri, yeah. Here, just have mine. And he ate it. I was like, is it the same? It could have been worse. But I didn't need to see that. I wish that we didn't have had that because I was so happy to know that even when the Black Panther is vampire mode, he can fight those urges. That would have been like a really big character moment. And it was good for about, I don't know, 9 pages until when that happened. It was good while it lasted. Blade, who is evil for these next 5 issues until the event is over, is saying, look, you're on a mission. You got to locate these temple ruins as I instructed for you. That's what your job is. And T'Challa's sort of fighting him, which is good resistance that I'd like to see from coming out of Black Panther. We got 3 more issues of Blade and T'Challa talking to each other like this until everything returns back to status quo, which is the kind of the problem with these big events. T'Challa fights off some nothing villains. Of course, the sunlight is gone. It allows for these kind of spirits to exist here. What's called the Adzi, the mother of pestilence. This might have been the same animal that was in the Shuri miniseries, maxi series. If not, I don't know. It's kind of irrelevant to me. The character stays for a very short time. It reminds me of the monster My Dad the Bounty Hunter season 2. That, no spoilers, it reminds me of that monster. There's a bunch of tie-in fluff because another kind of monster comes and Shuri handles it with one pew pew, as we have known to call that weapon the pew pew. It's not really nothing special to me, just tie-in fluff. If we talk about where he is, he did say in this comic book, I am your king, when he was telling all of his subjects, you gotta stop. But it was the vampire powers that made them kind of stunned. So is he a king yet? Which is the point of every Black Panther comic I'm going to read until he becomes the king again. Because a piece of garbage writer who wrote volume 8 of Black Panther did something on his final issue and made him not king anymore. And it feels like it's still being honored and still not being undone. I didn't see the Prime Minister Folashade in here, and that's good. But wouldn't it be cool to get Folashade dead? That would be nice. Was that Folashade that Shuri just handled? Maybe it was. I'd love for this woman here, who lasts for 2 pages, but I still hunger, to have been Folashade, the Prime Minister. And hey, look, Wakanda needs to have their leadership back again. We're gonna get back regular old T'Challa. Yeah. He's still the Emperor, because that's what the final issue of Eve Ewing, I can say her name, Eve Ewing's run ended with him being the Emperor of the Intergalactic Empire. That wasn't forgotten on. And I'm happy, but still, let's put some respect on this character's name. Let's be very observant of what's happening across all mediums. They, the studio, people in charge, people of colorless, want you to think of him or the word Black Panther, but not think of him, and make you think about his sister, his dad, his bastard child, his grandfather in this new video game, because it takes place in the 40s. So hey, why not? That's the message going on right now. And speaking of other Black Panthers, though, within this comic book, there is all those Panthers, and he's going to fight back with another Panther. He fights this Panther here in the nature preserve in Wakanda, okay? Is this also like a mystical one, or is this just a normal one? He's like, oh, I got to fight for my namesake. That's my question. I wonder, it ended on a final page. Usually those are bigger than the other pages in the comic book. So if it was supposed to be a climax, big splash page, then that Panther is of some significance. It's not T'Challa just being like, man, I can't help anybody here. Take this. Yeah, I was the king. All right, Shuri, and fine. Let me just see if I can beat up a Panther for sport. if I'm still who I am, whatever his reason was, maybe I missed it. It felt like a tie-in comic book, so the values was not the value of like the EVU comic book, which was more dissectable. How you feel about this, man? Fine. I could be complaining about a lot of things, like you've seen me done in the past with the lingo. There's no problem with the lingo. There's art. This is not just a comic book that was written, and the art was allowed to breathe, meaning that we didn't have no word balloon exposition-y heavy stuff. It was a visual comic book, which is what you want in a comic book. And that, of course, is the writer's credit, not only an artist. The writer decides how much words there's going to be in, or what pictures. Like when I saw this image of Black Panther's sister during that blood moment, man, it was hard to look at. Very glad that he only lasted a few minutes, a few seconds, right? But then I see my sister's eyes shining with pity, and shame breaks our blood bond. Her face told a lot of the storytelling over there. This was lots of walking, finding myself. Who am I? What am I? Not so much things that I think would add to the lore of Black Panther. It would be cool if a villain was invented for Black Panther in issue number 1. We see him again in 2. We see him again in 3. And then we know, like, in the Black Panther mythology of 200 and whatnot comics, plus his appearances in Avengers and everywhere else, it would be cool if that villain, who has vampire links, would have been added to that rogues gallery. And then maybe someday someone else can use him. Or it would be cool if another villain that already exists for T'Challa, who hasn't been used in a long time, would get bit by a vampire, and he would have some sort of inclusion in the storyline. But I want to always think about what it means for this comic book character long term. What does it mean for Wakanda? What is changing? And it reads like a tie-in comic book. The big event of Blade even being a bad guy, it's kind of not consequential. We know that everything returns to normal. The sun has gone out, just like in Avengers No Road Home. The sun went out, and it'll be back by any minute, the end of this comic book event. So I'm not going to be that invested in it. I won't give my heart to any of this stuff. I love the Secret Invasion tie-in. I read those. Cool stuff. When does it ever come back up, though? Like, when has anything of that, correct me if I'm wrong, mattered before again in Marvel? So history or patterns have educated my feelings and my opinions of today. That's how I feel about this entire comic. 1 down, 2 more to go. Will there be a T'Challa time live stream for this one? I don't think it's worthy of it. But I also know you want that. So maybe I'll assemble a panel this weekend. I'll leave you on that. I'm out. Vibe higher. Check out Dre Max show right there. Because that's a high frequency that he vibrates on.